This genuinely sucks. So in the first part of the video, I will show you guys the Sequoia for those of you that are interested in purchasing it. And then I will explain why we are getting rid of the Sequoia, not any of our other cars, and just basically why this whole situation is happening. Let's get into it. For those of you that are interested, this is a 2021 Toyota Sequoia TRD PRO finished in Lunar Rock. It is not a perfect car. When I bought it, it had this kind of scuff up here. I did have a little bit of touch-up paint put on it, but outside of having to completely repaint this front piece, it was kind of just like a temporary fix. But I did add PPF to the front end, so the bumper, the hood, and all of that to protect the paint from any future scuffs that might happen. And by the way, this wasn't me or my wife. The previous owner did that. There is also a little bit of curbing on the front driver wheel from the previous owner. And then there is a bit of wear on the driver bolster also from the previous owner. And while we're in here, you can see 43,000 miles on the odometer currently. But outside of those very minor cosmetic items, this car is perfect. We just had the 40,000 mile service done, and yeah, everything is in perfect working order with this Sequoia. And I just upgraded to more aggressive all-terrain tires compared to stock, so it's got that going for it too. If you happen to be interested in this Sequoia, message me at ben_hardypl on Instagram or email me at benhardypl@gmail.com. And then I guess I should tell you guys the price. I talked to a few of my dealer friends about this Sequoia, and they told me based on the color, the mileage, and everything this has going for it, the retail value is about $56,000 currently. Obviously, you're more than welcome to make an offer, but that is what the current market value is on this Sequoia on the retail side of things. Trade-in's obviously different, but if I'm selling this, I'm not going to sell it for trade-in. That would make 0 sense. Now into the juicy bit. So there were no plans of ever selling this Sequoia. Roughly 2 months ago, I submitted an order sheet on the Lexus LX700H Overtrail. I've talked to you guys about this car, how I wanted to buy one to do a long-term series and find out if Toyota's new powertrain and just new technology in general is reliable over the long run. Now, after submitting this order sheet, I sent in a follow-up email with some questions. I didn't get any response. Now, initially I thought, okay, well, the people are just busy, and so I'll probably get a response. A month goes by, no response. And I'm like, okay, well, I think that this is probably not going to happen at this point because I've had no response on either of my emails. So I'm going to look into other options. And other options I looked into, and 2 weeks later, I decided to purchase the Wrangler 392. I talked to my wife extensively about this before making the purchase. Traded in the 250 Land Cruiser and the Grenadier for the 392. And I kid you not, a week after me purchasing the 392, I finally get a response email that says, hey, your Lexus LX700H is going to arrive shortly. So I went from having no contact for almost 2 months to, hey, your car is going to be here soon. Like, I didn't even know that the order was submitted because I didn't get any sort of confirmation saying, hey, we've submitted this order, here's your build date, all that kind of stuff. None of that over the course of those 2 months. And so obviously I was extremely surprised, and it sent me scrambling because I'm like, what am I going to do at this point? Now, I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, well, just turn down the order. Just tell them that you're no longer interested in the car and move on. It's not that simple. So me asking for this allocation was asking for a huge favor. So if I turn down the allocation at this point, that would be a huge slap in the face to the people that I have been working with. This would be the equivalent of you asking your friend for a huge favor. Your friend goes and does what you asked them, and then they come back to you saying, hey, I just did that thing. And you, instead of saying, hey, thank you for helping me out with that, you say, oh, I actually didn't need that anyways, and have a nice day, right? That would be like extremely offensive and probably ruin your friendship. And so I'm at a position where, yeah, it would be a huge slap in the face to the people that have helped me out throughout this whole process if I were to just turn this down. Now, I do need to take some responsibility for the situation because this is actually pretty normal from what I've discovered. I've talked to several people about what happened, and they've told me that if you order directly from a manufacturer as a car journalist, this is actually how things typically go. I didn't know that because I've never done this before. Every single car I've bought from the channel has either been used, so bought it from a used car dealer or a new car dealer, or it's been new from a new car dealer where I haven't worked with the manufacturer at all and I've just worked with the dealership. So yeah, I just didn't know the process. And because I didn't know the process, I made the mistake of going and buying another car in between receiving communication. But that's what people have told me is basically, it's pretty normal for a manufacturer to not give you a response for 1, 2, sometimes even 3 months if you're looking at ordering a car this way. Now, I want to explain why we are choosing the Sequoia and not the other 2 vehicles that we own to trade for this LX that is coming in. If we first look at the 200 series, I just put a boatload of money into this car to get it set up for long-term ownership. I had the PPF completely redone, so this should last for the next 5 to possibly 10 years, just depending on how much it gets beat up. I also just bought new tires for the Land Cruiser. I added rock rails to it. I invested in a full-size spare with a Heritage wheel. That was pretty darn expensive to get from Toyota. And I just added a 40-gallon auxiliary fuel tank. So suffice to say, I just put a bunch of money into the 200 series to make it the perfect setup for daily driving, for long-term ownership, for overlanding, like everything that we plan on doing as a family with this vehicle. It is now set up to do that. And so if I sold it, I would not get any of that money back. I would lose all of that money and the time that it spent to get this thing set up. So yeah, it just doesn't really make sense. And this, by the way, is what my wife will be driving now. She's actually driven it more than me, funny enough, even though I originally bought this car for myself. And so it's a great family car. It's got a ton of space. It'll work just fine. The Jeep is not here because it's currently getting some work done on it, and that's part of the reason why it wouldn't make sense to sell a Jeep. Is we're doing a full build on that for the channel, and so obviously wouldn't get that money back and wouldn't be able to do the content series on the build if I sell it before the build can even happen. And then on top of that, it's a Jeep. They just don't hold their value as well as Toyotas, and I bought that brand new. And so, yeah, if I went to sell it, I would lose a boatload of money. I guess I shouldn't say a boatload, but I would lose a decent chunk of money on it. And so now you can see, although this is an amazing family car, this is the vehicle that makes the most sense to sell in this situation, given we have the least amount invested in it when it comes to content, and then also just modifications. It literally just has a little bit of PPF on the front end, window tint, and these tires are actually takeoffs that I have had sitting around for some time. So yeah, not really extra money spent there. And even if the 200 series didn't have so many modifications, it's a lot easier to replace a Sequoia TRD Pro. Even though this is in Lunar Rock, which is a harder color to get, it's still a lot easier to replace that down the road than it would be to replace that Heritage Edition. I got that with 12,000 miles. I paid under original MSRP, which is unheard of in today's market. I've consistently seen the Heritage Edition Land Cruisers with low mileage now sell for over their original MSRP, and so if I wanted to replace that, I would have to pay a boatload more money, and frankly, it'd be really hard to find one because they're getting a lot of miles put on them now, and so there's just not as many low mileage examples out there. Whereas I'm consistently seeing these available with relatively low miles on the odometer. Now, I know that they'll be harder to find down the road, but my wife and I are frankly not picky when it comes to color, and so I just don't really think it's going to be that big of a deal to find another one if we want to upsize again when it comes to a family car. And that is probably what will happen. Is my wife will drive the Land Cruiser for the next 1 to 2 years, maybe more, and then at that same time I'll be doing the long-term test on the Lexus, and once that long-term test is done with, then we'll probably end up trading the LX over trail for another one of these Sequoias. So I guess it'll be Sequoia to LX and then probably back to Sequoia down the road. I mean, again, we can't predict the future, but I think that's likely what will happen with everything that's going on. Or maybe the Jeep will be a complete dumpster fire and I'll end up getting rid of that because I don't want to deal with Jeep problems, but again, too soon to tell on that. So hopefully we can find a good home for this Sequoia, and hopefully we can have one down the road. I mean, time will tell on that. And I probably should have brought this up earlier, but for those of you that are interested, I will be running this whole deal through a dealership for a number of reasons. First off, tax credit here in Utah, and then the second reason is just because of fraud. There's so much fraud in the world today. It's sad that people are just not honest, and so the dealership will be able to do a background check and all that kind of stuff on whoever buys it. That's just what dealers do whenever they buy and sell cars. It's called an OFAC, and so yeah, they'll just make sure that it's a legit person and not someone just trying to scam. So understand, if you're a scammer, there's no point. I keep thinking the video is going to be over, but there's more things that pop up in my mind. So another benefit of running this through the dealership is going to be the financing side of things. Dealerships are able to help out with that side of things oftentimes. And then also, the car's paid off. I have the title to it, and so this is not going to be a long process. You don't have to wait for it to get paid off by a lender or anything like that. It's completely paid off already. And so whoever does work a deal on this vehicle, understand that the whole buying process is going to be pretty quick, because first off, dealers are able to run things at a much quicker rate than individuals, and then I also have the car paid off, so it's going to be yeah, lickety split, as they say. So yeah, if you're interested, reach out to me. And just, if you're gonna make an offer, understand that I'm not gonna take some crazy lowball offer. Like if you just make like a crazy low offer, I don't know, like $20,000, I'm probably not gonna respond. If it's within reason, I'll probably send a response, but if it's outside of reason, if it's anything below trade-in value at a dealership, then I'm just not even gonna entertain the idea. And if you don't get a response from me, understand that your offer was just too low and you need to step up if you're really interested.